Athletes come and athletes go, and so do our memory. Welcome to a new series for 2015, Legends in Sports in Trinidad and Tobago. And as we start our new series, we would like to take this opportunity to welcome two legends, one of Trinidad and Tobago top goalkeepers, Earl Spiderman Carter. Earl, it's a pleasure, and welcome to Acts 25, and welcome to Legends.
Thank you. I appreciate this moment.
As I said in the opening, athletes come and athletes go, and so do our memory, because we are people that quickly forget our heroes. You are one of Trinidad and Tobago former top goalkeepers. You have played abroad. You have rubbed shoulders with the great Pele. You have represented Trinidad and Tobago on numerous occasions. You went abroad, you formed an academy. Now you're back home. Let's take a journey through your career. I know that your dad wanted you to be a track and field athlete. How did you get away from that and started the football? I hope you didn't disrespect your dad.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, the track and field started in Tobago. My father was employed with the government. He was in charge of the running the asphalt plant in Mount St. George. So after 1 year, he came back, I think in 1962, and decided that he wants my mother and I to accompany him in Tobago. So the track and field really started in Tobago because everywhere I had to go, whether it was school, church, or to the store, to the grocery, I would run. And so that ability to run developed even more, much more as the years went by. But what happened, I had a lot of problems in Tobago with regards to the teachers and even some of the people in Tobago as well with regards to as I am from Trinidad. Some of the people in Tobago not realizing it is Trinidad and Tobago. They saw it as something separate. So the battles I had in Tobago is what shaped Earl Carter. They would beat me every day, and the beating, it was not just one guy beating me. It was like, for example, 15, 20 guys, sometimes 30 guys coming at me because his brothers, his cousins, his nephews, everybody coming at me alone. I was the one they were targeting in Mount St. George. And when I got to age 12, 13, around 1969, I began to fight with all the guys who fought with me when I was much younger, but I couldn't deal with them at that time because I was not strong enough. And that developed a character in me. That made me develop an ability to fight, to be aggressive, to be determined, and that my whole personality changed then. And so coming back to Trinidad in 1969, I continued with track, but every now and again I would practice in the back of my at the back of the yard where I live, playing football with my cousins and friends with a tennis ball, lawn tennis ball. And what happened was, as I continued in track through 71, 72, I ran in the Southern Games, big games in Trinidad and Tobago for Trinity Striders. 1973 was the deciding factor for me if I should continue to run, or if I should continue to pursue football. And what happened was, I was told by the track coach I couldn't get a scholarship because at that time I attended St. Bede's, which was a vocational school. So you couldn't get a transcript from a vocational school to wire to the universities in America. So I saw myself as someone who would end up like Keith Holder and Pat Marshall. These were two guys who I saw who trained their life out, day in, day out in Tagariga, and couldn't get a scholarship because why? because of whatever issues. And I said to myself, I don't think this is what I needed. But what happened after that 1973 track and field meeting was, in between I played soccer for Sir Frank, Warrior United. Now, actually, I attended Sir Frank Warrior training in 72 because I was advised to go there. So in between the track and field season, whether training or competition period, I would always find time to dedicate myself to watch soccer, which took away my effectiveness as a track and field athlete. But my father, in his mindset, he never wanted me to be a soccer player. So he decided in 1973 that I couldn't play any more soccer. I had to go back to track. Vernon Bain, however, who was the coach of Sir Frank Royal United, decided to give me a ride home one evening. And that was the evening when he gave me that ride home, was the evening when my father said, before I left for that game for Sir Frank, today is your last game. So Vernon Bain brought me home and he asked me, where is your dad? I said, well, look him. If you look straight ahead, you will see me in the gallery sitting there. He said, I want to speak to him. But I had no idea what he was up to. And he came upstairs and he said to my father, he said, Mr. Griffith, your son told me today that today is his last game. He has to go back to track. And this is the most amazing thing that it still beats me today. Vernon Bain said to my father, Mr. Griffith, your son will be a future national goalkeeper. After last week, I saw Vernon Bain and I asked him, what did you see in me to tell my father I would be a future national goalkeeper? He said he saw someone that was described as a track and field athlete standing up to shots from 5-10 yards away without flinching. He said he saw eyeball to eyeball contact. He said, no, that's not a track and field athlete, that's a goalkeeper. And my father said, well, if you want him to play, I have no money. Vernon Bain said, do not worry about money. I just want to get the okay from you that I have your son to play for Sir Frank Royal United. And that was the beginning of Earl Carter. If Vernon Bain did not intervene, I could not have been a soccer player. Because as you know, you would know, in those days, you do not disrespect your parents.
Yes, whatever they decide for you, you have to accept.
Yes, and I was ready to accept. I couldn't, particularly my father, whose name was Fu Manchu. If you ever seen the picture of Fu Manchu, you would have an idea of the character we're dealing with. I had no way I could have said to my father, hey, I want soccer. So that was the transformation. That was the beginning of Earl Carter. Yes.
Now, through your career, you played for teams, great teams, I would say, teams that you hardly hear anything about today. Malvern, Maple. When did it occur to you that you set your sights on being a national goalkeeper? When was your first call up, if you could recall?
You may even describe me as a madman too, because just like Vernon Bain, there's a guy just behind this grandstand here. His name is Bob. He attended St. George's College. And I told him here in 1970 that I would be the best goalkeeper in the world. Now, Bob said to me years later, he said, Earl Carter, you had to be a madman, because you would normally make a statement like that if you were a soccer player. He said, but you were not a soccer player. You were a track and field athlete running for Twin City Striders. So how could you say to me that you would be the best goalkeeper in the world when you weren't even a soccer player, really? So this is where it came from. It came from the motivation I gained from Ulrich Buggy Haynes. Ulrich Buggy Haynes is my cousin, right? And because he played for Trinidad and Tobago, I decided I believe I could play for Trinidad and Tobago. But there was something more to that. 1973, Kelvin Barclay was voted most outstanding goalkeeper in the CONCACAF tournament in Haiti. And that further emboldened me that I believe I could become the best goalkeeper in the world. So it's a series of things that helped shape my vision, my idea as to what I could become. And as I say this, I hope people, while listening or watching this interview, could see how important it is to have role models. Because without Ulrich Buggy Haynes, without Kelvin Barclay's success in Haiti in the CONCACAF tournament, I don't know if I would have continued to embrace the idea of wanting to become the best goalkeeper in the world. Although in 1970, that's what I said to my friend Bob, who lives behind this grandstand here. So having role models in your country and having them talk to young people and inspiring them as to how their journey may be and what they need to become successful, I think plays a pivotal role. Something that we do not embrace too much here in Trinidad and Tobago. We do not use the ex-stars in different sporting personalities as motivators to different parts of the country to motivate youngsters in the different schools and the different communities. So just showing you how much of a role that played in my development. The success of Ulrich Buggy Haynes as captain of the national team and Kelvin Barclay's success in Haiti made me realize, hey, I can do it. I really believe I can do it. And it really did.
When you were a member of the strike squad, you also coached Jablote in 2011, 2012. But tell us about the academy that you started in the US. I think you won 2 titles on the under 12.
Yes. In fact, the boys U12, which was the Tewksbury Bengals, in 2004, were ranked #1 in the whole of the United States.
And you were the head coach?
I was the head coach. When I got to the team in 2002, they were ranked 8 in America. And I took them from 8 to #1, boys U12. Unfortunately though, the team dismantled 2 years later because parents' involvement. I've had other successes such as for example, with other girls team and boys team. Like I had a U19 boys team that was ranked #8 in the state of New Jersey. A girls team that was ranked #1 in the state of in a certain section of New Jersey, not in the whole of New Jersey, a part of, I think it was the eastern part. Yes, #1 in the state. So I've had, and then in addition to that, I've had 2 goalkeepers on the national team from Columbia University, because I had a short period, not a short period, I had about 5 years
at Columbia
University.
Yeah.
You know, so I had some good successes there in coaching in America. Yes, but it's something I think we need to adapt here. We need to pay more emphasis in the younger age groups. Too many of our young players are continuing to develop on their own. You have some people today who are trying. They may not be highly qualified, but so too in our day. In our day, we didn't have anybody helping. You more or less, when I say helping, meaning coaching, you more or less have people who were, I would say, managers. Most of the time, in my case, who trained me? Apart from Sir Frank Worrell, my early years, I was trained by 2 guys. One guy by the name of Smokey, and the other guy Bertram Purdy. They trained me for about 3 months. After 3 months, they said to me, Earl, you are progressing so much that I can't help you anymore.
How you got the name Spiderman?
The name Spiderman came about in 1977. 1977, nobody could have scored on me really. I played for Tesca in the National League. The entire first round, of the competition, 1 goal was scored on me. And the second round, 5 goals were scored, but the 5 were penalties.
Okay.
So it was very difficult to get past me in 1977. And so you had this guy by the name of Hong. He is a hunter. He was a hunter because he died now. And he, together with the owner, well, the financier of Tesca, Foots, and other people like Maxinos and these guys, they would do betting, you know. And this guy Hong, he said to me, he said, "Can you tell me why they cannot score on you?" He said, "You have to be a Spiderman. How they can't score on you?" And he now would take his money in his hand, held it high, and he would walk around the field. Who against the Spiderman? Nobody could score on the Spiderman. And the name picked up in 77, 78, 79, when the Trinidad All-Star team played against New York Cosmos.
Yeah.
Giorgio Canalia struck a bicycle from just outside the 6-yard, up in the top left-hand corner. And when I made that save, the guy who took that picture, he won photographer of the year. And that picture was on the front page of the Express the following day, and the headline read, "Earl, O-L, Spidey to the rescue," demonstrating that save against Giorgio Canalia. In fact, that was the save that brought the contract with the New York Cosmos.
Okay.
But I want to say something about the New York Cosmos. 6 weeks prior to New York Cosmos coming here, Patrick Raymond, the organizer of the games, said to me, "Let's go and have a talk with the Cosmos officials at the Hilton," because he knew I wanted to play for New York Cosmos. In fact, there's a law that governs every action, the law of attraction, and it operates with mathematical certainty. We attract what we think. 1973, I spoke to Gally Cummins at the Tagariga Savannah at the end of a game at the Etihad League, and I said to him, "How can I play for New York Cosmos?" 1973. 1973. 1979, I was contracted with the New York Cosmos. So it's so important to believe in yourself and have a vision. I saw New York Cosmos as, hey, this is the team I want to play for. And it did happen.
That's what you do, George Best and
well, Giorgio Canalia, Pele. George Best was with, I think, the Los Angeles Aztecs.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the team with Steve David.
Steve David.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, so what happened with the interview was that I could remember the assistant coach, Ray Kaveka. He asked me the question, "How much people knows you in America? Can you bring 10,000 people to Earl Carter, to Earl Carter's name?" He said, "Pele brings 10,000 and more. Franz Beckenbauer brings 10,000 and more." He said, "Carlos Alberto brings 10,000 and more. Francisco Mourinho, Giorgio Canalia." He said, "How much do you think you can bring to your name?" I said, "Well, little did I know, I had a following. I was not aware of that following. I had a Caribbean following. I could have brought 10,000 people to my name, you know, but I didn't know." So I said, "I don't know. I don't know how much people." He said to me, Veka, that is, "We don't need you." He said, "You may be a good player, but we don't need players like you." 6 weeks later, they were looking for me. So this again is a message for young people, for sportsmen, for people who has ambition in wanting to become whatever they want to become. Always be positive. Always be positive. It is your attitude of mind that determines everything you experience every day of your life. If you see yourself limited, then that's how you're going to be. You have to constantly keep rising above and be like this bird and just fly and be free, escape into an adventure of freedom and explore, and then you will be able to discover who you are instead of seeing yourself trapped inside this limited body.
When you look back now, when you reflect now on your career, which point would you say was the highlight of, of your career? Making the national team, playing alongside Pele, what really would you say was the high point, or something that you will sit from time to time and will bring a smile to your face, a smile of satisfaction each time you remember that occasion?
New York Cosmos, the contract with New York Cosmos. The fact that the coach and the other executive members said to me, we don't need you in Cosmos. You are not good enough. But 6 weeks later, you could be looking for me while I was in Miami on tryout with Tampa Bay Rowdies. I mean, you would see Franz Beckenbauer, Pele, Carlos Alberto, Francisco Marino, Canali, and these guys. You would see these guys on TV and in the newspaper, and you would say to yourself, wow, it would be nice to play with these players one day. Never thought that it would have happened really. Even though my vision, my goal was to become the best in the world, even though I wanted to play for the New York Cosmos, you know, in the back of your mind, you still have that self-doubt that I wonder if it could really happen. And this is why it's important to really believe and think positive. So the New York Cosmos contract was the best for me. I'll tell you why. I played one game for New York Cosmos. There were many other games available to play, but I sustained 5 injuries in 6 weeks due to the AstroTurf. So what happened, I am the type of goalkeeper, I bounce and I roll because of my acrobatic agility. The AstroTurf was not good for that type of a goalkeeper. A goalkeeper who is just basic and who is not as acrobatic as I am, he would not have a problem too much with the AstroTurf. But the type of goalkeeper I was really, it was difficult for me to do the type of agility on the AstroTurf. So I sustained 5 injuries in 6 weeks. And that prevented me from playing other games that I was scheduled to play. Yes. So why the Cosmos contract was the best highlight and the biggest highlight for me was the fact that all the players in the New York Cosmos did an interview in July of '79, and all of them said I was the best goalkeeper ever passed through the New York Cosmos. Can you imagine that? Playing one game, not 2, not 3, one game. And of all the goalkeepers ever passed through the New York Cosmos, all the players said I was the best goalkeeper ever to pass through the New York Cosmos. I had so much respect from the big players, the players who the world have respect for. They respected me so much. That has to be the highlight of my career. Many players today, even Beckham not too long ago, said he would like to know what it was like to play with Franz Beckenbauer. I could tell him. It was an amazing experience. Something that I've never been able to duplicate anywhere else, because you're talking about the King of Europe. The King of Europe. You train with the king, the greatest player the world has ever seen today, King Pelé. How much people can tell you they were among these players? This has to be the greatest highlight for me in my career.
Now, you were a member of the strike squad.
Yes.
Right, on that fateful day when a lot of us were left heartbroken. You didn't play in the game, but you were a member of the team. At the end of that game, what was your feeling like?
I laughed. It was a relief. And the reason why I laughed, I did not laugh because we lose. I laughed because of the pressure that was handed down to me by the technical staff. So I knew they couldn't hurt me again. I knew it was over. But I also knew that I had to return to America to make a living for myself. And I knew, being there before, what it was like, what America is like. And that's why I was laughing. The camera was on me for about 30 seconds. People told me that I was not aware of it. I rocked back in the chair at the end of the game, and I was just laughing, because it was a relief that no more pain can be handed down to me again. It was a big loss. It was a big loss, and it was a loss that I think is so difficult to describe, because 10 to 15 minutes to go before the end of the game, I heard some noises behind my back in the stands, and it was as though if you would know, you would have been to a funeral already in your life, and you would see the reaction of people when a loved one is died and they're about to bury that loved one. That was the feeling when I looked behind me, and I heard the noises, and you see the people, how they were wailing, in despair. It's so difficult to really describe. But my laugh was not because we lose. I wanted us to go.
Yeah.
I thought that we would have made it, but that was a moment for me that it was over.
I know we don't have much time again, but my final question to you is that, was your dad alive to see you made the national team?
Yes, yes.
What was his word of encouragement to you when he saw that?
My dad was always proud of me, because I carry the name Earl Carter, but I'm really Earl Griffith. Because my mother married before, you know how it was in those days.
Yeah.
You couldn't have a child out of wedlock. So I wanted to change my name back to Earl Griffith. My father said, no, it makes no sense doing that. The whole country knows you as Earl Carter. You know who is your father, I know who you are, my son, so leave the name the way it is. So that's a share the character of the man. Most fathers will say, hey, switch your name back to my name. But he didn't want that. He was very proud of me. In fact, many times he would be amongst people and they would be talking about me and he wouldn't say a word. His people will have to say, hey, listen, this is Earl Spiderman Carter's father here. You know, he would always be silent and always admiring the good things that people had to say about me. He died in '91, so he was able to see me play for Trinidad and Tobago. It was something that you can't describe. I made them proud. My mother, my brothers, my sisters, my families, you know, the Lovers, the Haynes, you know, the Warrells, all those are the pains, you know. Yeah.
Well, I think this was a fitting, end to this interview, and I really want to thank you for affording me the privilege of being able to chat with you here. And I know before we did the interview, you said that you are leaving on the 31st back to USA, to London, to acquire your international coaching license. On behalf of myself and X25, we want to wish you all the best. We want to wish you good health, and we hope that on your next return, because there is so much more that we have not touched the depth of your career.
Yes.
And I extend the invitation to you when next you're in Trinidad to have another opportunity to chat with you. But again,
thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
And good health to you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Well, there you heard it from Earl Spiderman Carter. A very interesting story, a very interesting start to a career. And as you listen to him talk, you know that somewhere along the line, he acquired what he acquired because there was a plan for his life. So we want to wish him again great health, and whatever he touches, we hope that it is a success. And again, this is X25. We have come to the end of another edition of Legends in Sport in Trinidad and Tobago, where we highlight to you those who have done us proud in Trinidad and Tobago, but for some reason we tend to forget. So join us next week, Tuesday, at the same time for another edition of Legends in Sport, right here on X Television Network.